Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. Today is DailyCyber number 276. I'm excited to have a good guest on today. Michael and I have kind of been bouncing schedules around, but we were able to get on today to be able to talk about some cybersecurity issues that I think are really dear to both of our hearts. So I'm really excited about today. Just to give you a little background on Michael. Michael's a global cybersecurity executive who's spent over 2 decades leading cybersecurity programs across North America, Europe, and beyond. His career has taken him from military services to the boardroom of Fortune 500 companies, raising security maturity, integrating global GRC platforms, and building high retention and high performance teams. His passion about aligning security with business strategies so it becomes a growth driver, not a cost center. Outside of work, he has a dual citizenship, U.S. and Germany. Strongman training, which we kind of talked about before the stream, and someone who thrives on exploring new cultures and perspectives. Above all, he believes great security starts with great communication, and the best strategy are built with people, not just technology. So, as you guys know, people, process, technology. It's one of those areas that you're going to hear constantly when it comes to cybersecurity. So it's going to be really excited to get in the conversation with Michael. So grab a coffee, grab a tea, and let's hack at it. Hey, Michael, how's things going?
I am doing fantastic, Brandon. A little injury in the shoulder because of training, and you mentioned this earlier. We discussed it earlier, but besides this, that should not prevent us from talking today after we had so many reschedulings.
So the funny thing is that people don't know. I was just briefly talking to Michael ahead of time, and Michael's a heavyweight lifter. Did a little bit of an injury, so if you don't see him moving too much, favoring one shoulder, that's what it is. He's got a little bit of an injury, but he's working through it. So thank you so much for coming to the stream today.
Yeah, thank you for having me on the stream. So again, it was when I saw your email coming on the topic, I said, yeah, no way, I have to do this. And when you just introduced me, I said, this is really what I have done all over the years and discuss about. It's kind of impressive. Who is this guy who you're talking with?
I want to watch this, right? That's awesome. So how are things going? Like, what are you seeing currently in the industry? How are things going with yourself?
Yeah, and you see it probably. I post a lot at the moment on LinkedIn, different topics, topics which really, really concern me in our industry. It looks like the cyber industry itself has become a playground for many, many different kinds of people, imposters, posers, but also very serious people who know their stuff, just don't have a certificate. The job market is crazy. Let's say the hackers, I would still have to call it cracker, or Gen X guy, basically. Hacker for me is not a negative word at all.
No.
Quite the opposite. Nevertheless, the hackers and crackers out there, they just getting better and better, well educated, well organized. It's a crazy world at the moment, and I'm not sure if we have even lost the race. At least we are very, very far behind with everything. That's what I see.
Well, I think the challenge too is, like you're saying, it's like I was talking to a colleague this morning, and security professionals generally have one arm tied behind their back versus the threat actors, right? Because what happens, we have to deal with compliance, regulatory, budgets, approval processes, board of directors, all these things where threat actors don't have to do that. If they want to implement something or want to try something out, they can do it. Right? They can just put it in real time, where we have to go, hold on a second. We have to do some testing. We have to make sure we did it right. We have to go through a sales process and make sure we get the right product and service in. We have to do a proof of concept. We go through all that, where threat actor is, I'm going to try this tool and I'm going to run with it.
Yeah, this is exactly. I always compare it with a border, basically. So you have to protect a border which is 1,000 miles long.
Right.
Every little inch of it. But the little mouse in between, she just has to dig a small hole under the border. It doesn't matter how long it takes. It's just the same place. Sometimes she's through, and then she can cause a lot of damage on the other side by bringing in more friends, by bringing in more tools, and you can compare it with cybersecurity. The threat actors out there, you see them, they are known, they're very well known, they're very well organized. You can look them up in the internet. They have own websites, web pages. Sometimes they hire in the public, basically, in countries where they cannot be attacked, or let's say really, which are not regulated for cybersecurity. They have organizational structures behind it. They have a corporate structure in the meantime behind it that they don't hide anymore. They offer ransomware as a service, hacking as a service. And you mentioned it very well. They don't have to care about structures behind it. They just do it. They test it. They have. I sometimes feel that they live the times which we did in the early internet, basically. Let's say I'm in Gen X. When I heard about the internet, tooling, programming, the first thing I did, and you probably as well, many do is the same, set up a home network, testing out how it works, how this tool works, this program works, find the flaws, integrating, making error, making mistakes. We can't do this anymore in our profession as a CISO. And you mentioned this very, very clearly. You are completely handcuffed by budgets. That's one of the biggest topics. You're handcuffed by unsupportive boards sometimes. And don't get me wrong, there are a lot of boards who have already realized they have to do a lot more. And there are a lot of people who get the budgets to do some crazy stuff. But in many of our, and I'm not talking about the top 500 companies, the really huge enterprise. I talk about the small, medium businesses.
Mm-hmm.
They cannot afford a full-fledged cybersecurity team out there. They cannot afford these prices of the tools, sometimes the enterprise prices, which are requested from this. And I was talking today with a guy, basically, he was pitching to me a tool. I don't even know why. It was clear from the, I made it clear from the beginning, I'm not buying this tool at all. I have no use for it. But out of pure curiosity, it was a tool to do some penetration testing on a different way with AI. I said, okay, how much does it cost? I didn't expect much on this topic. You said 150,000 per user license.
Right.
And you were selling this? I was asking him blind. He said, yeah, big companies coming to me and buy this. Wow. And I thought by myself, why? I don't get it. And then the second topic, obviously, you mentioned this compliance, regulations, global regulations. There is no standard out there. This is Europe pushes out an AI regulation right now, which is live more or less. Here in the US, yes, we have some basic regulations, we have some guidelines out there. The government is talking now about the CMMC, which is mandatory. The first AI rules are coming out. The Trump organization released the AI rules, guidelines, but not really a law behind it, how to do it and everything else. It's more their white paper, how they want to do this. You can play this with each other. So you don't. If you live in a global organization, you have no chance at all.
Right.
You must build up 3, 4, 5 organizations sometimes. The compliance frameworks depend where you live. Demand a local CISO in every organization, sometimes even in every country, sometimes even in the different industries. I'm coming out of an industry which it's a manufacturing environment, which has a sales environment, which also had financial services behind it.
Right.
In Germany, these financial services organizations, for example, they needed their own CISO.
Right.
They needed a global CISO. They needed a manufacturing CISO. They needed a product CISO organization behind it. How do you do this? How do you implement this with anything? This is just crazy sometimes.
Right.
No? And I'm not saying this is wrong. It's just we need better tools. We need better processes. We need better enablement with this. Now we need probably even better business engagement sometimes.
Right.
This is coming back to your introduction. Communication, people, this is still key. Talk to the business that they have a better understanding why we are doing this, how we are doing this, engage them, bring them together. This is truly what I personally believe is the way to success.
Right. Now, in saying that, I mean, you brought up a good question and comment is that, you look at organizations need to hire depending on their business model, their compliance and regulatory, the countries, they multiple CISOs. How does that, in your opinion, how is the job market right now?
The job market is a complete different story. And you hear it every year the same. We have 4 million jobs open worldwide.
Right.
Then I'm surprised when we have 4 million jobs open worldwide. Just go on LinkedIn. Just look up some cybersecurity job. every job has 100+ applicants. I was talking to a friend, he posted a job and he said he got 5,000 applicants for a position.
Right.
Something is not adding up. Something is not really matching up. Either way, we have a problem on the recruiting side with the people, or we have a job problem out there with this.
Right.
Something in between is wrong, and this has shifted. And I'm not even talking about the fake jobs out there at the moment. Now, we have a lot of fake jobs, fake job postings, and you probably see this a lot, especially when you go on LinkedIn. People getting scammed out of money, people getting scammed for their resume review and everything else. It's bad. That's
Right.
why you're really playing with the hard times people have, which got laid off. But a lot of things are now also imposters, which I call them basically. You know, they're applying for jobs, cybersecurity jobs out there, just to have a job in this market. You basically can get right now on the market a certificate. You go out and you buy it. There are countries out there which sell you a CISM certificate, a CISA, a CIRIS certificate. Don't get me wrong, they have good education with this, so nobody says they're wrong, but I'm not sure of 100% how they do it, but you just have to Google it. Even don't go into the dark web, and they completely offer you a full training, a full certification, and you don't even have done 1 day training, 1 day certification, and you get it in your name. And
Right.
this is something which has to change in our market. We need to find a way to do a better recruiting, to basically do better education with this. And again, coming back to your question, I don't know what it is, what the difference really is between the job market, these thousands of people who are applying for a job, what the expectation is behind. The last year, cybersecurity was hyped so much, and I'm guessing it's coming from this a little bit, because everybody thinks he can come in and make a big buck just to have a certificate out there. And
Right.
we are still not training the people on the right way. When you think about cybersecurity, and I read something from the Sense Institute, they basically recognized roundabout, 14 different professions in cybersecurity right now, starting from a CISO, deputy CISO, SOC analyst, red team, blue team, GRC analyst, and so on, and so on, and so on.
Right.
And nothing is regulated with these professions out there. Nobody is really doing something about it. Nobody is really talking about it. And CISOs themselves, they are basically working alone on the field. They don't have nobody who's protecting them at all. So there are a few organizations out there at the moment, like the Cybersecurity Foundation, or let's say the Professional Association of CISOs, who are trying to do something. But it's a long way to go, and it's a long way to do something, and they need support. They need the people to help them, especially the CISOs, to get a standardization in the job market. And with this, probably we have a good chance, really, to the mismatch between jobs, people out there, to align this a little bit better on a global scale.
With that being said, like the CISOs, like you've been in the industry for quite some time. What do you think is the expectation of to be a true, real CISO?
Yeah, I had this discussion a couple of days ago, and I also said, I made a provocative comment there. I said, actually, I think the CISO model itself is outdated. It should be a CSO in the future. CSO who understands business, who understands physical security, who understands compliance behind it. But also probably with a CISO or information security officer who is reporting into the CSO. I get the argumentation that many people say, yeah, but the CSO has to be technical. He needs to work with infrastructure people. He needs to understand programming, rules, basics. You cannot expect an accountant who learns this from the ticket to understand suddenly how programming works, how network works. He's probably put in a CISO role, just to give one example. On the other hand, I say, yeah, but how do you then expect a CISO who comes purely from a technical role, from an infrastructure role, historic device, from a programming role, developer role, whatever, that he understands how accounting processes work behind it, so how business processes work, how do you strategy, how a CFO thinks out there, who is important for the CISO, no doubt about this. How do you align process? How do you talk to the boards? That's why I think the CISO role has to evolve now. It has to evolve to a better understanding, to go away from the smell, it's still IT. Everybody thinks a CISO, Chief Information Security Officer, is still IT. This is long gone from my point of view. And this is coming back to the first question, basically. Also a problem which I see a lot in job descriptions out there. People demanding a CISO, but they really want a system analyst. As they want somebody, a hands-on guy who can work on the network, everything else. Yeah, but that's just part of the job. The CISO is a leader. He needs to lead people. He needs to do strategy. He needs to talk to the business people. He needs also to have the authority, and this is the third area, which needs to evolve. He needs to have the authority to make decisions without the board. Just to give you an example, in a huge organization, middle of the day, suddenly your main sales application gets attacked. You see it. Somebody is in the environment. However, it got in there with this topic. So what are you doing as a CISO? Do you have the authority to shut it down right now in the middle of the day while hundreds of sales probably waiting for this tool, working with this tool or not?
Right.
Or do you have to call the board, everybody else who has his own opinion behind it, make a huge, hour-long discussion and so on and so on? And then the practitioners then know it's a matter of minutes sometimes to get these people out and to shut it down, to make a decision. You cannot wait until somebody responds and say, yeah, probably let me talk to the CEO first. And the CEO say, oh, what does the CIO say? Oh, let's talk to the CTO. Have you talked to the CFO? The head sales calls. You know how it goes. Before a decision is made, probably 3 days. Now, the CISO needs the backup of the board, of the people, of the whole organization to make this call with all the consequences behind it.
Right.
And they don't have it. Most of the time, they don't have it. There are organizations out there who have it. I saw in the past a CISO who was in the lucky position. He has a CIO next sitting to them. Exactly this situation occurred 2 or 3 years ago. And the CIO, he didn't care. He made the call. I loved him for this. I really loved him for this. And he said, we shut it down during the day, right now. And it was a right call at the end. Right. Everybody recognized it. He had to deal with the fallout. And he said, he really backed up the CISO and said, no, I deal with the fallout. I go there and I take the calls right now for you. You ensure that this person, this hacker, is getting out of the network.
Right.
And this is how you should work together in the future. In this case, it was the CIO, but it could have also been the CFO who was sitting there next to him. It could have been the CEO sitting next to him. And if the CISO has this backup, we are moving a step forward, a very, very good step forward.
Well, I think to your point, you have to look at containment, right? The longer that threat actors in the environment, the more they can do reconnaissance, move laterally, move from that. So if you can contain their access point and stop it, I mean, you're looking at a difference between a network intrusion to a ransomware event, right? I mean, if you can contain that to, yeah, they got access to that endpoint, they, brute forced someone's account, they got in, but we stopped it and contained it. That's the end of the conversation. We did it. Here's the logs. We had to do this. We had to harden our password policies, like all that other stuff you start to do post-mortem, right, after you're done. But at least you contain it. The worst thing, as you and I know, is if it becomes like they moved in, they got in there, they do data exfiltration, they had to start to ransom, they encrypted some systems. Now that's a whole conversation with the internal security team, your board of directors, senior leadership, outside carriers, even breach coaches, law firms, and then potentially notifications. Like, it becomes such a major incident versus that one where it was contained. The CISO and CIO had the decision. They contained it. They looked at it. They looked at best practice after and how to do that. That's when I was incident response. The companies that I saw that had an incident had better processes in that realm than the ones that had an incident where they started to do this. Well, that wasn't my responsibility. We had to do that. We had to set up a war room, but we couldn't get someone for 24 hours, and so we had to wait. As you know, that time gives threat actor enough time to start moving, start to do that. And if they're in the environment and still have free reign, they're going to do what they can.
They do what they can. They probably install themselves with other rights, other users. They add new users' accounts. This is standard how it goes. And on the other hand, I also think we don't have a big choice in the future. When you think about, I think China they will implement a law next year that you have to report every single cyber incident, and don't ask me now how exactly cyber incident was defined. I don't remember. Within 1 hour.
Right.
Within 1 hour to the government. So how do you want to do this if you don't give the CISOs or the local cybersecurity guys fully responsibility to do this? And even not the CISO sometimes. It has to be the SOC guy who is in charge at the moment, because the CISO might be on vacation, he might be in a meeting, he might be somewhere stuck where there is no mobile network available or anything else at the moment. You just cannot reach him. So this goes beyond this, basically the cybersecurity teams, this is staffing, there's a reason. That's why I say basically this is a whole organizational structure, and a cybersecurity organization with a CSO probably on top has to be rethought, and has to be probably aligned with many other topics. With legal, they need short structures to do. Is this right? What we do right now? Everybody's talking about cyber insurance, compliance frameworks, everything else. What are the consequences if we do it? I need somebody in there. As CISO, in the meantime, he need to have legal knowledge. It's just crazy sometimes. what is demanded of these people.
When I think to your point, I think that's why, in my opinion, it's harder for a CISO to be technical. There's just too many areas that they have to understand: compliance and regulatory, risk and liability, right? Their insurance, their partnerships. They have to be able to speak to the controls at a higher level, but they can't be in the weeds of that access control list is set up this way, that firewall is configured, that's the last up, like the SIM is running that. And I was reviewing the logs. If they're that level deep, they either one don't have the budget to run a proper security program, or they haven't learned to let go and build out a team, right? Because you need that subject matter expert. That you have a security analyst, maybe level 1, level 2, level 3. That's their job. That's their job to provide information upstream to the director, to the VP, to the CISO, so that they have visibility. And the CISO has to make, of course, the business decisions. Operationally, like the director or the VP should make those decisions for day-to-day operations, but the CISO should have visibility. And I think when you kind of go through that and people understand that, when they say the CISO, and this is where I get the disconnect when I work with like medium to large organization, and the CISO should be, on call and doing this and doing that. I'm like, whoa. You're going to burn that person out. Like, they need to be fresh. They need to be on point. If you're running them 24/7 because they're monitoring, they're on call and running the SIM and doing all those other things, they're not going to be functioning properly. When they have to speak to the board, they're not going to be cognitively there.
Like, but I totally agree with what you're saying. And many companies, especially in the SMB area, they need not a full-time CISO. They need system analysts, probably 1, probably 2. They need hands-on guys. But compliance demands sometimes, or cyber insurance demands from them, you need to have a full-time CISO. So why not hire a fractional CISO? Why not hire a re-CISO? This is an excellent model out there, and usually you get very seasoned professionals. You have been in this profession as well, so you know how it works with this. Now you're still working there. This is a model where I believe, especially for SMBs, is the model of the future. Just don't make it money grave for the MSPs who use this vCISO model at the moment just to place people out there. You still need experienced guys to do this, who know how the strategy works, who know where to look at it, and they also protect you from the vultures out there who try to sell you tools and everything else at all costs at all time. This is another area, and we come to this later, obviously, but this is also the CISO role, to bring the right tool landscape which you need with a strategy, and not what you want. That's the most important topic.
Well, I think that's where you have like asset inventory, secure control inventory, where, like you're talking about, they have to, when you get like a fractional CISOs, I get like they should have that experience and they should have the sweat equity that when you look at their resume and background, they've been a CISO at various different organizations, and they have the experience of specifically too, if you're hiring for a specific industry like your healthcare, they need to have HIPAA. Right? They should be in HIPAA, and they should have that experience for several years and have built up, maintained that HIPAA program and the healthcare and understand it from end to end. When you get a fractional vCISO, I think the challenge is that some, I'll call them service-oriented businesses, promote some security consultant advisor internally and say, by the way, you're now our vCISO. And they come in as the technical vCISO, not a business strategy vCISO. So they're talking about controls. They're talking about technical. Oh, you need SIEM, you need EDR, you need DLP, you need this, you need to have a proxy and mail filtering. And they talk about this, but there's not a business strategy. There's not an overall thinking. And some things that you just mentioned, there's not a continuity between the tools in the sense of they might have 3 email filtering. And you're like, well, why do you have, Microsoft Defender, Mailcast, like Mailcast, and then you have a few of the other ones, right? I'm just trying to think of a few of the other ones. Proofpoint. Why do you have all 3 when you only need one?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. I was talking to a business, medium business, 14,000 people, so not small, but also not extremely large. And they approached me and were asking, we not from the cybersecurity organization, interestingly, more from the purchasing area. We're spending 2 million a year on cybersecurity licenses. 2 million a year for 14,000 companies. Sorry, this was ridiculous from my point of view. And the SOC was not even included there.
Right.
That's pure license fees. Oh man, it was a mess. Still is. We're working on it.
Well, and the question I always have, and I mean, you said you're working on it, I always look at, okay, if you're that much, one, is it needed? Like, exactly. Do you have EDR, SIM, whatever, vulnerability license, and it is needed? Okay. If it is, okay, maybe that makes sense. But if you start going, okay, why do you have this and this? Why do you have this and this? Why do you have this and this? And I know for myself, when I've worked with global organizations, I've gone in there and gone, okay, hold on. Have you been leveraging your purchasing power? Like, if you're going to buy CrowdStrike Sentinel-1, why do you have CrowdStrike in this country, Sentinel-1 in this country, Carbon Black in this country? Why don't you have one EDR tool, right? That now you have a better purchasing power, you can reduce the licensing fees per endpoint, and you can do that.
And now exactly.
And this is the point that, going back to a technical CISO wouldn't think that way.
Yes and no. A technical CISO would probably think this way sometimes. So that's what I exactly wanted to say right now. So there's a crux. A CSO wouldn't probably think the way. A technical CISO probably would exactly think this way. If it's a pure technical CISO in a CSO organization, that would be his job. Talking about licenses, talking about the gaps, probably aligning with the CIO strategy, with the CTO strategy behind it. I still don't understand why we have all these roles, CTO, CIO, CISO, and everything else.
Right.
Another story, my personal feelings. we have too much of these CXO roles anyway. Nevertheless, the technical CISO can close the gaps, and many organizations, and it's a philosophical discussion. They say we need best of breed tools out there.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Others say, no, I want less tools. I accept sometimes there might be some gaps which I can close with additional tools with this. Also nice with this topic, but you need one strategy. That's the most important topic, and everybody needs to be part of this. When the IT strategy together with the businesses, we need one tool, we go with full-fledged Microsoft and close some gaps where we know they are not that great for whatever reason, or we need it for other license reasons, other country tools, or we have some special needs, fair enough. But when you go with best of breed, you must be aware. You need to know exactly what your environment is. You need to know every time when the tool upgrade comes, you have to test the whole environment with this. You need specialists in every single tool. And what happens if one of these best of breed tool goes out of business? How do you close the gap again? That's a big problem sometimes.
Well, again, to your point, I think that's where you evaluate the security controls and the program, the maturity of them, because then you look at, is it acceptable risk? Like, is it something where we don't have a software development lifecycle, right? There's a gap in the environment, but we really don't develop software. We don't code, program, things like that.
Why do we need it?
Right. So we have tools that kind of do some fuzzing, all that, but why do we have that? So there might be a gap there in understanding, right? Versus like the core foundation of, hardening your firewall, SIM, DLP, mail filtering, like all your core solutions. Do you have them, and are you fully utilizing them? I mean, I know for myself, a lot of times when I go in the organization, it's maintenance and management and reviewing the logs and tuning. I always find there's the gap. I found they deployed it. It's in the environment. They can check a box. It's there. But okay, who's monitoring it? Who's alerting on it? Who's going through the logs?
Exactly.
Who's doing that on and ongoing? Well, Bob does it when he has time. Fred, he does it once a week.
Or
Right?
just, nobody. Exactly. Oh, we have a log. I didn't even know we have a log on this topic. And this is a part. I mean, many people don't. And coming back to the best of breed topic, yes, logs exist, but how to read them is a complete different story. What do they mean with everything? We have no standardization of logs sometimes. There's
Right.
probably complete different meanings with complete different events behind it. And then you need somebody who understands it, brings it all together to see how it works. Yes, AI can help a lot there in the future. And I hope it will to clean this up in some areas.
Yeah. No, true.
But AI is not at least not at the moment, the truth bringer to everything.
Right.
Because it can only be that good like you program or feed it more or less with data behind it, how you program your own AI.
Yeah.
If you do it right from the beginning, you have a complete different problem because you think you have a sense of security which is probably completely wrong.
Right.
Because the data is completely misinterpreted. And then coming back to the AI, this is also a problem that I see in the industry. Many people just trust it blindly. It's a monster. Yeah, that's fine. I have my AI. It's doing everything. That's right. It say everything is green.
Right.
And yeah, are you sure about this? How can you prove it? How can you do it? And AI governance is one of the most underrated topics from my point of view at the moment on the market. How do you really prove that everything is true? You give AI access to everything. Some companies do.
Right.
Why? Why don't you treat it like a normal employee behind it? Zero trust implementation for AI is the same like
Right.
everything else. You're coming to the next topic, inflation of AI tools. And it's crazy what's everything is going on the market. Yes, it's a hot topic and I love it. I use AI myself with this. And I play around, I program, and I try and do and everything what is possible. But I also think all the time by myself, what is going on in the background? And we all know putting data in ChatGPT goes to their servers. Where are the servers? Now coming back to the regulations. As a
Right.
CISO, my neck hair would stand up with this. I have a company in Germany putting the data into ChatGPT, goes to the server to the US. Hey, I already violated the law without even this hot topic. And what is happening to the PII data stored on other servers? Oh my God, you already violated the law again. Without even knowing sometimes, because everybody can somehow deploy it because business wants it. So
Right.
make it happen.
Well, and I mean, one of the topics you wanted to cover, which I totally agree, was the infiltration of AI tools. So, what's your viewpoint on that? Like, when you're talking infiltration, what are you seeing?
Again, I'm a fan of AI. Don't get me wrong, but what is currently coming on the market on the sheer amount of tools is just crazy. I think the last number for the first 2 quarters of venture capital just for AI tools are 9.5 billion just in venture capital.
Right.
This with the global spending with round about, what was this, 300 billion on cybersecurity globally. This sounds like a small piece, but it's not. It's a big piece in there.
Mm-hmm.
You might think we spent on SOC and other tools, but what is the return of investment in these areas? Venture capitalists, the ones sometimes their money back after a few years. They want to see a return on investment on this.
Right.
It's a statistical nature that these some of these companies will go out of business, probably even with a good tool, because they cannot get the contracts. Because nobody can tell me that there are 9.5 billion dollar contracts out there right now, probably just for
Right.
AI SOC. I don't believe it. Because everybody jumping on this just because it's a tool, which is cool, which is fancy. Now, the smart CISOs, they don't do it. The smart CIOs, they don't do it. They watch the market. They see what's going on. They probably develop their own tools with this. The smaller ones, they probably don't have it even on the radar. And
Right.
the tools which are currently purchased are mostly the tools which are the loudest. Marketing is everything.
Right.
Are they the best? I don't know. I cannot tell. No, we need, and this is a miss from my side. What I see, we need market tools which evaluate these AIs, which exactly tell what is the gaps they fill, what is the tool they fill, how do I do this, how does it work into my strategy. Companies alone cannot do this. They need help in the future.
Right.
Filling this gap, we will see where it goes.
So I think too, like, and this is, I would like to hear your perspective. I think the infiltration comes down to is so many of the manufacturers of applications and software are incorporating, embedding AI into their solution. So there's always a component like Teams has AI, Zoom has AI,
Oh,
you know, Sentinel-1 has AI, CrowdStrike has AI. Like everyone's putting in into their infrastructure, their ecosystem, and now it's involved. And I think the question always comes down on a security standpoint. Tinfoil hat is, what are you doing with my data? What access does it have? You know, what are you using it for? Intelligence and building out your program, LLM or AI, whatever that is building, and are you sharing that in some way? Right? Is it only you're sharing it internally? And do I approve of that? You know, how are you utilizing my data? Because now you're pulling it from my ecosystem and you're utilizing it in some way. And I think a lot of people, I find, and then you look at, you know, the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of like the CI triad, people are looking at availability. Oh, it's there. I get it. I can ask questions and you can put me on this. I could, you know, I could punch in some code and I could say, ask them to review it. It can tell me the errors. It can fine tune it. Give me a batch file or, you know, a script.
But where is the data coming from? That's the question. Copilot is the best example right now. I love Copilot. I love to use it. But in a huge company, what was it, a couple of weeks ago, where they found out that Copilot can access basically every SharePoint which is deployed in the company without any borders to it. I find it like kind of crazy with this, so that every single, and don't get me wrong, important position, every single intern can suddenly read what the board briefings are just by asking the Copilot.
Yeah,
it can't be. That just can't be. And this is also where I see the responsibility of the big players, of the SAPs, of the ServiceNows, the Salesforce, the Oracles, the Microsofts out there. Educate your clients on this.
right.
Educate how they can help with this. How can they educate what is going on in the background? Give them these structures. Where is the AI data coming from? Make my security advisory. They are doing this, but sometimes just not enough from my point of view. And just don't do it for every single enterprise. Don't leave the small companies out there which just purchase an E5 license from you, just to give Microsoft. Give them also support. Tell them what to do, how to do it, where the data is coming from, what kind of access rights are needed, how to structure everything. Microsoft is great. I love it, basically. But try to find a solution to a problem. Oh, man. Crawling through 100,000 of pages or ask Copilot sometimes. Yeah, it's also nice. I also found out, depending on sometimes on the time where you ask a Copilot, you get a different answer, which is interesting.
True, very true. And I think that's the challenge, I think, with when you look at, you know, Gemini, Copilot, ChatGPT, I mean, the list goes on. Like you said, there's thousands of AI applications. I think the concern I have, you know, putting my security hat is I'm more cautious and reserved about saying, and this is what you know as well as I do, a lot of times where security guys get the bad name. Oh, Brandon's going to say no. Like, I don't want to ask him because he's going to say no. Well, I think that's the challenge, is because we don't know. So I'd rather lean on the more secure practices versus test and figure it out. Let's see what's going to happen. Let's see, like maybe someone won't put the financial, you know, all the accounts payable, accounts receivable in ChatGPT to see if it can give them a summary of it. And now it's public somewhere. Like things like that, where you might have a policy. And I think, you know, people listening to this have to understand the policy is governance. It doesn't actually technically protect from the actual incident. It's just the governance of what you should or should not do, right? The actual controls in place are what actually stops you from doing it, right? And this is where a lot of times you have, you know, mail filtering and things like that. You have DLP. You can't transfer files out. Those are the controls that stop the activity. But I can have a DLP policy saying, well, you can't download to Dropbox. But if I don't have a control in place, I could just say, oops, sorry, I didn't know.
Important point. Important point. A policy does not stop something. Just the control behind it and how to implement it and how secure it is implemented and how it works.
Yeah, someone in the chat saying, I think the concern is that you are telling AI what your IT infrastructure is giving away trade secrets. And I think that the point is that we put the education, and again, a lot of companies are doing this, cybersecurity awareness training, AI training, they're going through it, but there's always that 5%, of employees, people in your environment, they're going to make a mistake. They're going to do something that they shouldn't do. But now that 5%, just like we know with attacks, someone clicks on one link, you're completely open. You could have 14,000 employees, but that one incident, that one person downloads or uploads any information to, a public forum, now you're in potential legalities, you're bringing issues or exposure, confidentiality, all these different issues. But it took only one person.
It happened already in the past. So you could, with specific configuration, everybody was able to ask ChatGPT about specific companies, about the internals, and ChatGPT just said, "Yeah, here it is." Or what was it? Gemini, was it a couple of weeks ago, where I basically saw a post. I don't know, it was kind of developer forum where Gemini suddenly answered with some GitHub sources, which it just pulled out of GitHub from some random people out there, which never gave access to do so.
Right.
With this, yeah, they stop this as a flaw, but I'm just waiting for the day for basically you read something like, "Hey, ChatGPT suddenly posted everything for Microsoft internally out there just by asking," with a flaw. But we're laughing about this, but this is a very real scenario. Just think about this: how many agents currently getting deployed?
And I think the challenge too is that we know is the data model where they're getting it a lot of times is from the internet. So they're scraping data after data after data. So, and it's the cyclical cycle. We're putting data in one area, it's scraping from the other. So it has this repository of data that now it's sharing to users that are prompting and asking questions.
Just think forward, 2 years forward from now, we have ChatGPT, don't know, 7, 8 probably out there. But there might be some old models, 3, 4, 5, still running, vulnerabilities which have not been discovered yet with everything. Who is controlling them if you don't really do it from the beginning, the right governance, putting the right controls in place? Probably we need tools in the future to really see where the data flows in the network all the time and say, if the data flows from A to B, stop it, not allowed. Pretty simple. Complete new generation of firewalls who doing nothing else than controlling data flows behind it.
Yeah, someone saying in the group, AI is a garbage in, garbage out mentality. It runs off the data you give or train it on. You give AI personal or private data, it has the data and will use it. But I also think is like, I know I've done some prompts just to see if it would scrape current events, right? Like when Charlie Kirk, got assassinated, I just asked like time, date, location, all that, just to see what I could pull from that. And it's pulling from sources. So it's going out to the internet. So I get what they're saying, but I also think is that it's not just one source of data. It's just not user data.
Just pretty simple goal, not even ChatGPT or something else. ChatGPT Pro is doing this. Gemini is a pretty interesting topic when you have the Gemini deep research function enabled, and just do some deep research on a topic which really interests you, and tell the Gemini, put every source you can.
Right.
Wow, it's just incredible. There are sources sometimes in there which I have not even thought about where it's going into, and it's fair. Let's say, be fair. It's listing all the sources which I pulled with this, and I think it's crazy. And I understand that many people say in the future search engine is in an AI tool, but this also for me is dangerous.
Right.
I sometimes love to scroll through search engines. What you read it already. I cracked the AI algorithm basically that I'm on top of this and everything else.
Right.
Man, is this the way we really want to go with everything? I don't know. Today, for example, I was running a test and I gave a similar prompt to Gemini and to ChatGPT. surprisingly, the answers were nearly identical.
Okay.
So you would expect that they probably push different sources. No? And this also sometimes question myself, what is really going on in the background?
Right.
You and I, we will never find out as a normal person.
Right. Oh, of course not. Right. And I mean, one of the scary things that I always think is, are they just working together? Is the code and application, the companies and organizations, they're really in the back end, just really collaborating,
Yeah.
with each other. And they're pulling, again, like I talked about, from the same sources. They're pulling the repository from users. They have the repository from the internet. They're pulling them together. And then all of a sudden, like you said, Copilot, Gemini, ChatGPT, I'm just using those three as an example.
Yeah.
If you did the queue, you prompt in each of them, now you're getting the same information. You're wondering if it's just coming from the same repository and sources.
Now you have exactly described one of the new attack vectors, dangerous attack vectors. And this is nothing which is basically really harm your environment itself. No, it harms the data of the environment. When you pulled a data source in front of ChatGPT, or front of Gemini or Claude out there, very prominent on top of everything, and made it very reliable with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different sources. In the past, we called it domain hijacking, basically website hijacking and everything else, and made it plausible. And everybody believes this, like, no, red is now blue, red is now blue. There will be a specific point of time where ChatGPT tells you, yeah, red is now blue.
Right.
Because it pulls it from every single source out there.
Right.
It's still a kind of machine with data. We are not there with a possibility. No, we are still there with ones and zeros, black and white.
Right.
Nothing else with this. And if I tell a machine often enough it's black, then I think it's black.
Right.
In this case, blue.
You can, right? It's like they say, you're training the model, right?
Exactly.
On how to respond. Now, last question I wanted to bring up to you. I know there was a topic that we were kind of starting out with. You were talking about like the talent crisis, right? I know you were talking about there's potentially a crisis with qualified people. Is that what you're seeing? That we don't have the right experience, especially now I'll narrow it down to cybersecurity, because I mean we can talk about any industry that in that sense, but like specifically about cybersecurity.
I wouldn't say not qualified, but you mentioned it with the right word, experienced people. Colleges catching up now with cybersecurity educations, with cybersecurity degrees. But people coming from college, having a degree and probably one certificate, they don't have any experience.
Right.
We talked about this beginning, the lack of leadership. How should they turn this if they don't have any mentoring, they haven't led any teams? The lack of really experience, how to run a SOC on a global company, how to implement a SOC properly with this, how to run a red team, how to run a blue team, what to do with GSC, how to run processes behind it. But they believe it sometimes, and that's crazy.
Right.
I have a bachelor's degree. I have a bachelor's degree, even a master's in cybersecurity. I made my CISSP, I made my CISM, I made my CISA, my C-risk. I can be a CISO right now. No, you can't.
Right.
With all the respect, you can't. Go back to the bench. This is how I think, basically. Grab a mentor, learn, listen, go in a deputy role, go in a GSC lead role, go in a SOC lead role. Learn how everything's to work together, make a huge IAM implementation, probably go into infrastructure first. Or go a completely different role, go into a BISO role, business information security officer role, learn how to speak the business.
Right.
With this. Now go into a full governance role with this. But don't tell anybody you are a CISO or a CSO right now coming out of college. And this is a crisis what we see. And we need to stop telling everybody cybersecurity, you can learn this in 6-8 months. You make a degree, you make a cyber certificate out there, and you are done with this. This has to stop. This is dangerous. This is dangerous for our business. This is dangerous for our people. And you see it everywhere popping up at the moment. You see it on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, in LinkedIn, very much out there. I train you 6 months in security operations, in penetration testing. And you train somebody to use a tool for penetration testing, but not how to do it, how to listen to it.
Right.
Basically, learn how an application speaks. I truly believe to be a very, let's say, effective penetration tester, you need to understand basics of development, at least basics with this. You need to understand process flows. You need to understand automation workflows, all this stuff, basically. You need to understand the principles of a good software development lifecycle, testing, and so on, and so on.
Right.
This is nothing you learn in college. This is something which you just learn in practice. No? For me, also a very big topic which is missing is mentoring.
Right.
Many of the senior leaders, they don't mentor. Some do. Don't get me wrong. There are great mentors out there, but some, why should I do this? Are they afraid to lose their job? I just don't understand. I just don't understand. Mentoring is, for me, the most important part what we can do and give to our younger generation of leaders.
Well, I think that's important too, because they can give you guidance on what is really the true day-to-day operations and things that they need to be aware of. Because I find with school, theoretically, the principles are there, but the change in technology and process and what's happening is so quick and dynamic. By the time they do the courseware for the first year or second year, third year, fourth year, it's changing, because you're not going to use that tool anymore. You're not going to use it that way. That tool that you started to come out with now has updated their interface, their dashboard, and it works a different way now from what the actual courseware. So when they get out and go, oh, yes, I know this tool, and they're like, okay, go navigate, and they're like, oh, it's different. It's not what I learned in school. Right?
Most of the time, exactly, it is what it is. Or you sit there and suddenly you have a Linux system in front of you. Never seen this. What is this? I learned on Microsoft, or vice versa.
Or a GUI. It's a GUI. It's a click-based GUI, right?
Why can I click here anymore?
Yeah.
Now you actually have to type. No? Use a VI.
Yeah.
What is a VI? This is no. I had this question in the past with some guy. What is a VI? I said, you work with Linux? Yeah, with a click GUI. Nice, thank you. Let's talk. Let's sit and talk, please.
Right. But I think that's important. I think that's an important aspect, because I agree. Like, someone goes to university or college, you're working towards the lower tier of cybersecurity. Security analyst, it's going to give you enough that you can break in the industry. You're going to be a level 1, and you're going to kind of get that, and you're going to work your way up. But like you said, I totally agree. Don't expect you're going to be senior anything. Senior analyst, senior GRC, senior, a director.
Nobody out of college in any other degree is expecting to jump into a CIO role, into a CFO role, into the CEO role. Yes, some do a CEO. That's another story. But nobody. Why in cybersecurity? This is the thing then. And the other topic, coming back to the talent crisis, we're talking only about colleges. This is also a hiring crisis, what I say. We have exceptional talent out there which don't have a college degree, which don't have a certificate, which are sitting there learning, doing something in help desk. I was hiring a guy, he was doing 20 years help desk. No associate degree, no bachelor, no certificate.
Right.
Best guy, one of the best guys I ever hired, to be very honest. Talented, working forward. Yes, we had to do some leadership coaching with him. We had to do some mentoring with him. We had to train him how to speak to a board. And I remember the first meeting, he was, oh, Michael, I sit here, and if you need me, I say something. I said, no, you present.
Right.
I present? Yes, I'm sitting here, and if you need me, I say something. It's quite the opposite.
Right.
He was nervous like hell, but he did great. He did great, and everybody knew it. But this is also what we have to look into this. No? Coming back to one of the first topics we said, the hacking organizations out there, they don't hire for bachelor degrees. They don't hire for master degrees or certificates. They hire for talent. They go there where the talent is. They grab it. They let them test, let them train, they educate them. They let them play with the ground. They go directly where it's needed.
Right.
And we should do this as well sometimes. You see the job description: system analyst, basic, 3 years experience, plus the certificate, plus CISSP, plus bachelor's degree.
Right.
Great. Sure. Good luck with that.
But that's an HR person that's did some sort of keyword search for that and then came up that job description, right? I've seen ones where it's like they're looking for a level 1 security analyst to work in the SOC, but they have to have 15 years experience. You're like,
yeah, like the AI analyst, you need to have 5-year experience in AI. I had ChatGPT also. I read this as well. I was smiling.
and then like you said, CISM, CISSP, all these certifications. Like, what are you looking for like $40,000 a year? You're not going to get that. Like someone with that qualifications, not going to even look at that job.
No, exactly. And usually these guys are already experienced. They are not fresh. They are not coming directly from college or something else.
Yeah.
And this is house-made talent crisis. And I don't even blame HR. Some of them, yes, I do, especially in larger organizations, which should know better. But let's say smaller organizations, you said it, they go buzzword hunting. They put it out there. They don't know where to call for help with this. Now, probably a CEO of the small business came, yeah, we need no cybersecurity guys. I understand we need 1 or 2 hires with this.
Right.
Hire somebody. They have no guidelines, or they don't know where to talk to whom they are talking to with this. No? They read something, they probably do some copy and paste from LinkedIn and post it out there.
Right.
And then it stops. No? And then they bring in the ATS filter, they have a workday solution or anything else. And I had a discussion with a lady who basically said, no, ATS is not filtering out good candidates, and I could prove her wrong. I submitted my application for the CISO role, and everything was in there. But ATS filtered me out with the application. Right. And she called me, where is your application? I said, I submitted it. And she found it, filtered out. And this is basically the problem what we have as well somehow. No? But coming back also, 5,000 applications for one position. With all over the world. Everybody applies for this position. I get it. They need some tools to filter.
Yeah, for sure.
Is there a solution? I don't personally have a solution yet for this. There will always be some people who are overlooked.
Well, I think that we have to go back to the old school, and this is just my opinion of the more senior the position, the more narrow net you put out there, right? The more broader, of course, you're going to have a bit, like if you're on a security analyst, you put a broader net out, you put it on LinkedIn, you do that. But if you're looking for those expertise, going to the network that you know, going to the network of other CISOs and all that, starting to go that, because I know a lot of CISOs that talk, and if someone's just been laid off, whatever, and that person's looking, that's a great fit for another organization who has experience, has the background. Maybe they got laid off for some reason because of pay cuts, whatever that means, downsizing.
There's also danger to this, basically. You said you go out there and you're looking for the CISOs who are there shiny and everything else. Yeah, now we are living in an influencer world. So you really want to hire an influencer CISO? This who just, they're calling themselves CISOs. They are the cybersecurity person of the year 5 times in a row because some organization sponsors them to do so and to tell this and to promote them the tool behind it. Then you have another problem with this. Then you probably have somebody in a house who doesn't even know how a SOC is, never stepped a foot into a SOC or what it is or anything else, just because it was a shiny person, and this shiny person now has suddenly your name of the company in the resume.
Right.
And then he's going to the next company and said, "Yeah, look, I worked for this company. Oh, yeah, this guy must have been great. This guy must have been great." And you see, this is how it's pushing up. And the real people who are doing the work, they're getting overlooked sometimes. So they are not the shiny ones. He's probably an introvert sitting there. Doesn't know how to post on LinkedIn. Doesn't know how to put out his resume or anything else. Incredibly good to speak to the board sometimes because he learned it from the beginning. He learned it to speak to his CIO and then some other guys, and he knows the network or she. And again, is there a solution? Not really from my point of view yet. We will see how it turns out, but this is another risk what we have in our industry, from my point of view at least.
So I got a question before from the community. We got like a minute left. What job titles would you consider to be entry level in the cybersecurity field? This person's searching for jobs in the field, and the titles seem very convoluted.
Is he searching, or is he basically he's searching?
Yeah.
But if for entry level, system analyst 1, probably security analyst, GRC analyst, depends obviously a little bit. But I would not necessarily search for senior roles, but really simple analyst roles. SOC analyst, definitely. System analyst, penetration tester. these are the simple, not simple, don't get me wrong, they are complicated, important jobs, but these are the entry-level jobs you should search for.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. I agree with those, because I think what happens is that what you have to look at for these ones is, do you align with the qualifications too? Don't think like if you come from a different industry or whatever that may be, if you don't have the security background to do that, you might have to go get your security plus, right, and get a little bit of experience. Now, some of them, if they'll train you on the job, which is good. If you look at any MSSP that's looking for a SOC analyst, that they'll train, but you just have to get the certification, spend 60 days and get your security plus.
Exactly. Also, probably thinking of a change of mind. You mentioned this earlier. CISO should have HIPAA experience from healthcare.
Right.
Why does a system analyst need full HIPAA experience, or a SOC analyst at the moment? He does not need it, but it's in the job description sometimes.
Right.
You need to know what it is. And this is also something where I say, why? Why? He does not have to do anything with it.
Right.
Not at all. Hire these guys. Bring them in. Vet them. Train them. Teach them. They learn on the job. And if it's really not working out, yeah, okay, this happens as well sometimes.
Yeah.
There are multiple reasons for this. But
so true. Now, your organization's Quantech. Is that how it's pronounced, right? Quan.tech, if anyone's looking for Michael's website. Best way to get a hold of him too, I've got here is his LinkedIn profile. You guys take a screenshot of that, add him to your profile. Michael's a great resource. I watched his LinkedIn post. He posts a lot of LinkedIn posts, a lot of great content information. Michael, thank you so much for coming out. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Brandon, it was a pleasure. And I was just surprised when you said it's over. I said, okay, we just start talking.
And that's the thing. It goes by pretty quickly. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it as well.
Give me a second here, gentlemen. So that's today's Daily Cyber. And what you're going to see as we go through, you're going to learn a lot from some great people in the industry, in different organizations, that, what you really need to know about cybersecurity, what you really need to know about being a CISO, the industry. We talked about AI technology and how you really have to think about how you're looking at implementing in your environment. It's a great tool. Again, I'm like Michael. I love it. I really enjoy it, but I do it with control. I make sure that I have good processes in place. I make sure I'm being mindful of what information and data I'm putting in there. And I really want to make sure as I go through, I'm using it properly so that I get the best out of it. And there's so many uses you can get from, using any type of Gemini, Gemini, Copilot, ChatGPT. You get so many great outputs and successes from it. You just got to learn how to use it properly. So that's it for today's Daily Cyber. Don't forget to subscribe. And just remember, software's hackable, being connected is vulnerable. I'll see you next Daily Cyber.